All right. I don't even know what day it is. June 10th. Okay. Here we go. 5, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Average Discussion. Thank you for tuning in today. Today is Monday, June 10th, 2024. It's about 90 degrees here in the Salt Lake City area right now in this great abandoned parking lot. It looks abandoned, at least. I think some people still work in these buildings, but for the most part, it is completely vacant. I was going to record with the air conditioner on because, again, it's about 90 degrees outside. But I opted out of that. I'm parked under a tree, so I hope that it works out. I hope I don't get too hot in here. Should be okay for about 30 minutes or so. That's assuming that that's how long this goes. Okay. Listen, first thing I want to bring up, I haven't been here in a while. It's been a minute since I've done an episode, or got on here and just talked in general. It's been a long minute, so I'm a little rusty probably. And to be honest, what I'm doing today is I'm really spending a lot of time focusing on trying to identify the reasons for my inconsistencies, right? Because, not too long ago, I was talking about all these big plans that I want to do. These, hey, I'm going to go out, I'm going to talk to these people, I want to promote these small businesses, I'm going to do the live show, I'm going to do this, and then bam, I just disappeared. And for a minute there, I thought, maybe I'm not as into this as I think that I am. Perhaps I thought that this is what I wanted to do, and maybe it's not, right? Like I really had those thoughts, and I don't know. I just disappeared from it, man. And so I'm trying to think, because I fully believe that I do enjoy doing this, and that this is something that I want to get off the ground, and I want to just do. I want to get out there and talk to people, and then I never actually end up talking to people. It is the weirdest thing, because I genuinely feel like that's the route that I want to go, right? And so I've been trying to identify the reasons why perhaps maybe I'm inconsistent with this, and kind of what I was leading towards was like, maybe I'm not, because I do a very good, in my opinion, I do a very good job of downplaying the effects of the issues that I have that linger over from the military, right? And whether that be physical or mental, I feel like I do a really good job of downplaying those, and I've probably not been able to recognize and realize the real life impacts that they're having on me, because I don't want that to be a crutch for me in a way, right? And I'm not trying to say like people just use them as crutches, but some people do, and I think that jades my perspective on it, and I don't want to be kind of lumped in with those people, right? And so I think I do a really good job, and it's not in a good way apparently, of downplaying that, right? And I think my wife would probably attest to that on certain things, especially some of the physical aspects. Like, I don't know, I refuse to accept the fact that I have physical problems, and I still go out there and try to act like I don't, and I pay for it, and I do the same thing with my mental health sometimes, I think, especially when it comes to just states of mind, right? I don't give enough credit to the fact that these things are kind of kicking my ass sometimes, right? And I thought that was kind of a leading thing to it, right? But so I recently took, it was 3 days, but it felt like it was the whole week, because I didn't really do much Monday or Tuesday. So I pretty much took all last week off, went into the weekend, and it was a good time. I got a fair amount of things done. My son had his driving test, so we took him and passed that. So we got his car already, and and then I did some work that had been neglected on my truck here, Studio Silverado, which that was the thing that I forgot to do. Thank you for joining me today in Studio Silverado. Totally spaced that. And I did that, and then took my four-wheeler out and did some adventuring and rode around with my daughter and my wife, and then she had a performance on Saturday, and then Saturday night we stayed up, spent the night in the canyon, put a tent up and all that, And then Sunday just kind of drove around looking for places where I could do that again in the future, right? And dude, when I woke up this morning, the last thing I wanted to do was go to work. You know, um, I don't know. I think there's a time frame where like it works out. I think too much time is a bad thing. If you're trying to stay motivated for your job, I think it's extremely difficult because I'm not going to lie to anybody. Like the one thing that I always come back to when I take this time off work, right, and I go out and I do these things, and it's great for my mental health, and it's great for my relationship, I think. Um, but the one thing that I always come back to is that I absolutely despise working even more, and not necessarily working because I'm not afraid to work. You understand what I'm saying? Like when I say I don't want to work, it's I don't want to work for whatever this is. You know what I mean? I got no problem breaking a sweat for something that's beneficial. You know what I mean? It's when I have the, I guess you could say, luxury of realizing that what I'm stressing myself out for and what I'm beating myself up for and exhausting myself for is ultimately pointless. That's where I struggle, right? And I think that, personally, I feel like that is definitely repercussions of, lingering stuff that I became aware of during my time in the Army. You know what I mean? And realizing, I think I've said it before, but like when you're put into a situation where you're pretty confident you're gonna die, your perspective on things kind of changes. You know what I mean? And it's a hard thing to kind of come back from, I think. It's extremely eye-opening, right? Because what I value now is extremely different than what I valued going in. The things I deem important now, the things that I try to stay focused on, and not let myself get stressed out by outside things, right? Those things are extremely different now, and I think it's a result of that, right? Like nothing to me is more important than my family. You know what I mean? And I think we lose a lot of that perspective with a lot of these quote jobs that we have out here in the quote real world, right? They're just pointless, man, pointless. And if the company I work for right now ceases to exist tomorrow, it sucks for me personally because I got to find a new job, make more money, right? It sucks for the people that I work with because they're in the same boat. But at the end of the day, nothing changes in the world, on the grand scheme of things. And those are the types of things that every time I take time off, I kind of reevaluate and put back into perspective, but I realize, like, I kind of go through these spurts, these patterns, I guess you could say. And, for, a while ago, I probably would have said it was like, I don't know, depression or something like that. Right. And the more I think about it, I don't know if it's necessarily depression as much as it's just a feeling of like being lost, right? Like, I don't know where the hell I'm supposed to go. All I know is that what I'm doing right now doesn't fit. Like everything in my personal life fits, right? Like my family, the things that we enjoy doing, all that fits and that feels great. And that's why every time that I do those things, I'm fine. It's when I try to fit in all this extra stuff, right? And, these jobs and this and that. And I don't know. It's because to me, it just doesn't feel worth it, But then at the same time, you can't enjoy the luxuries of the modern world without going through the hassles of the modern world, right? And so it's a give and trade type thing. But I really think that's what leads to it, man, is that I think deep down inside, I feel like there's just I'm forced to do things, especially when it comes to this podcast, right? I feel like I'm forced to kind of do some things, which I'm not forced. This is the irony behind the whole thing, right? Like nobody's forcing me to do a dang thing. Nobody is forcing me to do podcasts, right? But I feel like I'm forced to do these things that feel kind of unnatural to me, right? And I feel like my job is a lot of the same way, right? It feels unnatural for me to just go waste my life away at a damn warehouse, Like, yeah, I make decent money. I've provided a pretty good living. You know what I mean? I'm in a pretty good position, pretty good spot. There's literally zero fulfillment out of my job. Absolutely none. And I know that's what's killing me. I know it is. And it's probably killing a lot of you listening. You know, I think what we view as depression from like our, especially like, we always go back to it, right? Our lives were so hard at this point in our life, at this point in our life, which those are factors for sure. I'm not here to downplay those by any means. All I'm saying is I think we latch onto those being our current problems when I don't know that they are. You know what I mean? They might contribute to some of it. I'm not going to say that they won't, right? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to get up here and tell you that your doctor's wrong, right? I'm just thinking outside the bubble here. And I think it's just kind of what we've been preconditioned to go back to, right? Because I mean, everything is like based off of what we see in society. You know what I mean? Whether we want to give credit to it or not, it is, right? I mean, I'm literally watching the show. Me and my wife have been watching the show, and I'm binge watching it now because I have to see this. But we started watching 60 Days In, okay? And it's like this the show on, I think it's A&E or whatever, and the sheriff's departments, because they run the jails, they put on these programs where they take these 7 innocent people and they put them in the jails, basically be snitches, right? But it's like a reality TV show, right? And it's interesting to me because you can literally see the social programming that these people, from what they believe, right? They believe that if you go in there, you're going to get stabbed right out the gate or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's the mentality that they have. And it's very interesting to see that perspective. And then it's also interesting to see the reality that they hit when they realize that's not how it is. Do those things happen? Of course they happen. That's why we know about it, right? But is that your everyday life? No. Right? And so, you know, people do it with the military all the time too. You know, like, yes, was there firefights? Was there explosions? Yes, of course. Did people die? Yes, they did. Did that happen every day? No. You know what I mean? And do all those things play a role? Absolutely. You know what I mean? It doesn't downplay the effect that it has, especially on your mental health for one, right? But it's not an everyday thing. And I think learning to grab onto the parts that aren't those one-off situations and focus on those over the, you know, the bad ones, that's definitely where it falls in line, right? And so I bring that up to just highlight the idea of like the social programming that we have has kind of preconditioned us to think that like if we're in a bad spot mentally, it's because of our past. But what if it's just unnatural? You know what I mean? I can't explain to you why I feel the way that I do about the workforce. All I know is that I don't like it. It doesn't feel natural to me. I feel like I'm wasting my life away. And maybe there's a lot of people out there that share that, right? And they just don't vocalize it maybe. Right? But I would rather be doing anything else. Anything else. Well, maybe not anything else, but there's so many other things that I'd rather do. And that don't involve having a job. You know what I mean? And it's not to avoid work. And I think that's the biggest thing that's a misconception, especially in the modern world right now. You know, you see a lot of people talking about like, oh, people just don't want to work. No, it's not the work. This is what you don't understand. I will literally let's go dig a hole, man. I will literally work. Ask my kids. They absolutely hate it. Like, I'll shovel rocks. I'll do all. The work is not my problem. The purpose behind the work is my problem. And I think that's the part that's really getting lost with a lot of people right now is that, you know, I don't know that working is people's problem. There's some, sure. There's obviously some people out there who just do not want to lift a finger to do anything, right? They've always existed and they're always going to exist, especially if we create an environment that caters to that, right? It's always going to exist. But I don't think that's most people's problem. There's literally no purpose to almost everything that we do. The only purpose is getting that dollar to buy the things that we want to do or to pay for the necessities that we need to have, right? Food and all these things. All these things that we could provide for ourselves had we not let our ancestors buy into this form of society. Because I didn't create this society. I was born into it. and now I'm just living into it, right? And you can make the argument, well, then change it. You don't like it, change it. You're right. You're absolutely right. But here's the other thing, right? Is that you don't become wiser about a lot of this stuff. Most people, at least, don't become wiser about this kind of stuff until they're already engulfed in a life that. What am I supposed to do now? I'm supposed to force my children to view the world the same way that I do. I'm supposed to force my wife to have the same viewpoint on it as I do and see the same value in just abandoning it all that I do, when this is what she's grown up in and lived in too, right? It becomes its own unique problem, right? And I'm not gonna say that that's bad or wrong. All I'm saying is it's a unique aspect to it, right? And so it's really easy to do that. So I don't know, but just looking at the reasons at why I think I've been inconsistent, and like I said, I feel like a lot of it just feels unnatural to me, right? I was doing really good at the whole advertising myself and things like that, but guys, I'm telling you, that is not natural for me. I get on social media. Yes, I browse and I look at videos on social media like most of the other population too, right? But I'm not an interactive person on social media. Like, you're not going to see me commenting on your posts very often. You're not going to see me, sharing a bunch of random things all the time. You're not going to see me going out and following these events and this and that. Like, it's just not who I am. And I'm not knocking anybody who does it. It's just, it feels unnatural to me, and it's just not who I am, right? And I realized that for this to be successful at the route that I was going with, like, that was going to have to be a big part of it. And I'm not good at that. I'm really not good at it. I can be if I focus on it, but the thing is, I don't want to focus on it, right? And, in terms of the self-advertising thing, part of it's like fear, right? Like, the fear of rejection, I guess you could say, like, people I know personally from other aspects of my life maybe finding out and then being like, this guy's a piece of shit or something like that, right? Like, there's that fear, sure, but the other part of it is that I don't believe that everything that I say is leaps and bounds better than anybody else, right? I don't sit here and claim to know or believe that I'm always right, and I think to be a good self-advertiser, you have to do those kinds of things. Like, my stepsister can self-advertise the shit out of herself because she always believes that she's right. You know what I mean? And because of that, she's very good at advertising herself. I'm not. Half the time I think that I'm wrong. And maybe that's a difference in just the way that maybe events in our lives have shaped us. Sure, right? And when I say those things, like, I'm not trying to sound as messed up as it probably sounded, but she does. Like, she full-heartedly believes that when she says something, she's right, and she's able to advertise herself as a result of that because she genuinely believes that. Is that to say that she's never corrected herself or never found out that she was maybe wrong and come around to it? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that she has that belief that if she says something, she's right, and I think because of that, it's easy for her to advertise herself, where I'm the opposite. I feel like I'm the problem or I'm wrong more times than I'm right. And I think because of that, it's hard for me to advertise myself. And then you throw in those other factors, right? The fear aspect of it, of, hey, I know these people from this portion of my life. I'll take my kids' sports, for instance, right? Like, that's how I know these people. That's how we have a relationship. I don't want that to be jaded because of my opinions on the fact that I don't want to work. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is they don't want to work either. Most of them. If they have their own company or something, I think it's easier because that's their purpose. That's their drive. You know what I mean? And that's just not it for me. But at the same time, I'm not willing to just drop it all and walk away from this. So I have to buy into the system, right? And that's the one thing, though, that this time off always kind of reminds me of, man. It's just like how much I absolutely despise this modern concept. I don't like it. I was watching this video on this is about some stuff that Terrence Howard, the actor, was talking about, and I've seen a few clips here and there on social media videos, right? And kind of thought it was just like a joke, but I was watching this actual video of some stuff that he was talking about, and I owe him an apology. I don't think that he's listening. But in the event that he stumbles across this, I owe him an apology. He's extremely well educated. I'm not going to say that what he's talking about is 100% right, but he's definitely educated. He's definitely articulate. He's not just rambling off just junk, right? He has things to back up what he's saying. Now, if those things are true or not, I'm not a physicist or any of that, right? But what I'm saying is he's not just making bold claims. He's looking into stuff. And it was the perspective of it was interesting, right? He was like, the part that got me hooked was, and I'm sure he gets a lot of shit for it too, right? Because anytime, I'll come back to this. Well, maybe I won't, because this is what I do, guys. I'm all over the place, right? But I'm sure he gets a lot of shit for it because he's an actor, right? And so anytime you have a viewpoint that's outside of that, I think we as a society tend to just lump you in that box of, you're just an actor, what do you know? But he had this point that he made, and he said that, me acting for money is like Jesus walking on water for tips. He provided a living for it because he was just naturally good at it. You know what I mean? And that's what he references. He said, acting was my vocation. It's not who I am. I support my family with that. I've been able to take care of my family with that. That's not what I'm interested in. It's not who I am. And I was like, damn, you know what? Like, he's absolutely right. And that's what I need to. That's probably where I'm messing up the most, right? And maybe it's because I was in the Army, right? And the Army truly is a lifestyle. It's not just a job. The people who treat it like jobs generally don't have much success, right? It's definitely a lifestyle. You have to let it become a part of your life to be successful. And I think if you have a family, even more so, because if you want your relationship to last, I think it has to be a group concerted effort. I really do believe that. I'm sure there's some anomalies out there that could prove me wrong, but my general perspective of it, for success, you need that. And now I'm in a world where I'm just providing, right? Like, I don't need to take this as seriously as it is, because I need to focus my attention towards what I really want to do. And I don't know what the hell I really want to do. That's probably the biggest thing, But what I can tell you is that, when I take this time off and I go out and I do these things and I disappear from society, what I value is slapping me in the face. You know what I mean? And the things that I value and the things that give me fulfillment are non-material items, right? Like, obviously, if you go on a vacation, you got to have the money, you pay for these hotels. So if you want that extravagant experience, obviously you need to be able to play the game in the system, right? But the things that I value about these times away is literally just the fulfillment of it in, my family, my own well-being, the de-stressing myself. Like, those are the things that I value about going to do these things. I don't go on vacations to Hawaii. You know what I mean? I probably should. Maybe I'd like it, but I don't do those. I go just out to the middle of nowhere and just let it all go. You know what I mean? And so those things that I value, like my family and my own well-being, become extremely more important to me because I don't have the distractions of all this crap. And so that's why I think it's really hard for me to focus on working, right? And then when I put that in contrast of this podcast, and I think it falls into the same line because I don't feel like I was doing what was natural to me. You know what I mean? It was becoming work. It was becoming work because I was looking at the headlines and I'm trying to formulate this podcast and have a routine because I've heard all these people talk about consistency is key and this and that, which it is, obviously, if you want to have super success. Totally understand that, right? And so, like, I'm forcing myself to read through these fucking articles that I don't give two shits about because I'm telling you right now, guys, I looked at the news articles ahead of doing this one, And it's all the same shit. I have not looked at the news since the brief time that I looked at the news for the last episode, and then there was probably a couple weeks before that. And it's all the same crap, man. And I'm so fucking tired of it. I'm so tired of it, and I don't feel like that's the direction I need to be going anymore. You know, I thought that it was good, and I would love to talk social settings with other people. But I think if it's just me, like I just need to do me. I just need to do what I do, and what I do is this: ramble from the top of my head and hope that somebody listens, right? Then I got into the advertising, and I'm posting on this site and this site and this site, and it's just like, I don't know. Like I love doing this. This is therapeutic for me. I've said that from day one. This helps me tremendously, and my only hope is that people who listen to it find enjoyment in it and can also find something from it that maybe helps them. Right? Those are the things that I wanted to do this for in the first place. And I got away from that because I got so wrapped up in the idea of like, oh, in order to be successful, I got to do this, 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 and this, and this. And I can still do those things, and I don't have to conform to something that, the irony of it, there's something that nobody told me I had to do. This isn't a game plan that somebody told me I had to do. I developed it myself. I'm literally battling myself. And I think people do that in their own lives with everything that they do. They battle themselves. Nobody's telling you that you can't do these things. You're telling yourself, right? Nobody's telling you that you have to do these things in a lot of situations. You're telling yourself. And we just end up doing this stupid, I don't even know what it is, this stupid like merry-go-round through life of just crazy stuff. I don't know. But I do believe that the consistency is key thing. So I definitely need to focus on that. I need to focus on making sure that I hold true to that. You know, so that you guys have that stuff. I can definitely find stuff to talk about every single day. That's not a problem. Anybody knows me knows I can talk about a lot of random stuff. The thing is I was so focused on trying to find things that I thought the people around me would be interested in that I guess I just didn't realize how big the world is. If they don't like it, there's somebody out there that probably does. And I'm just going to say whatever I want to say. I need to stop being concerned about that, you know. It's super weird. Like I said, these patterns, you know, my wife probably agreed with you. I go through patterns, right? And she's not wrong. I absolutely do. I think everybody does, to be fair, but I think I'm starting to see some of mine. There's probably a bunch of them I don't see, but I'm starting to see some of them, and it's super strange to me, you know, because when I started trying to revamp this all again, my wife made a joke to me. She's like, yeah, it makes sense. It's football season. That's why you're looking to do this, because I always seem to get back into it when the football season for my kids kicks off. And it's weird because that's the busiest time of my life. and the weird part is that here we are. This is a pretty slow part of my experience as dad, right? And all these things that my kids are involved in. And so I arguably have more time, and I'm just not doing it. It's weird. You know, like as I go home and I want to focus all my attention on doing things at home. But the weird thing is I don't do anything. And you know, I guess I'm just trying to make myself available, right? So like, what do you need help with? What do you want to do? What this and that? But the truth is that I'm not doing really anything, and I still don't find time to do this. It's the weirdest thing. It's like when I get home, even though again I'm gonna rephrase this, like half the time I'm not doing anything. It's like my mindset just shifts to, okay, I just need to be here to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of, and I sit there and I wait for it. You know what I mean? Like this. What do you want to do? What do you need me to do? Like those types of things, and it's definitely nobody's fault that I do that. I don't know why I do that. I guess I just feel like that's my purpose, my responsibility, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways. I'm going to roll the window down. Give me just a second, because I am dying. It's hot. I guess I'm not dying. It's a rough way to say it. Hold on a sec. Okay, well, I'm sure the volume's going to change a little bit. I'll listen back to it before I post it. If it's too bad, I'll just redo this, I guess. But you're going to probably hear a few more things, some wind, some trucks. I'm not too far from the highway. Hopefully I'm far enough away. But it is what it is. I'm sweating sweat my backside off here, okay? And I don't have much of one of those. So, yeah, like I don't know why I do those things. I don't know. It's nobody's fault, and that's the biggest thing I want to reiterate, right? It's like it's nobody's fault. Like nobody at my house has made me feel like that's what I need to do. It's just something within me that feels like that's what I need to do. And I don't know if it's a result of, me kind of coming to these conclusions that like I hate this corporate lifestyle, the mass, economic trade. Like I despise everything about it. You know what I mean? Like, nah, I shouldn't say everything, because I do like certain things, right? Like I do like my cars. I do like certain things about it, but at the same time, like, the process at which it takes to get there, I'm not a fan of, man. And I just don't feel like I'm doing whatever the hell I was sent to this place to do for, unless it was to suffer. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not suffering. My life's pretty good. And maybe that's the problem. My life's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any reason to really want or need for much right now. And life is easy. Life is good. And I guess maybe I'm not used to that. Maybe that's what it is, right? Like, so many things in my life have been hard to attain that maybe I'm not used to it when it's just easy, right? Like, and I've said that before, in terms of I don't have all these things because I've literally reached the only goals I had in life, and those goals that I had in life was just to have a house, good running car, and a family. You know what I mean? I've done all those things. And so now I'm just in this limbo of like, well, what do I do now? Some people, they have aspirations for the big house. They have aspirations for that CEO job. They have aspirations, and all that's good and well. I have nothing bad to say about those people. That's just not me, right? And since it's not me, I've already achieved my goals. And maybe that's how low my standards were, right? Like, I just want a regular house. Like, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You know what I mean? And maybe that's a byproduct of that. I don't really know. But here's what I do know is that I care about helping people. I found that out 100%. But not all people. I've also found that out. There's some people that I don't want to waste my time with. It's kind of what's kind of kept me out of pursuing like psychology and things like that, is because I feel like once you go into that field, you can't be selective. I can still be selective right now with just the wisdom that I get, plus what I'm able to read and learn on my own. I can be selective. If I go into it professionally, I can't be selective. I got to help everybody, and I got to listen to their stories about that are big to them, I guess, or just for attention. And I don't want to be. I don't like the fact that I judge people like that anyways, and I definitely don't want to be in a world where that's going to be more of a realization for me, right? And so it's like, I don't know, what do we do? What do we do when we've reached all of our goals? What do we do? I mean, I think the common sense answer is we make new goals, right? And then we go achieve those. But I don't really want to make any more new goals that aren't like personal achievements. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to have a better relationship with my children. Okay, well, I don't need this fucking job to do that. I want to have a better relationship with my wife. I don't need this job to do that. I mean, maybe parts of it, right? Because I got to pay the bills and stuff. But like, I don't need this to have a better relationship with my wife. I just need to be better in my relationship, better in my communication, better in my attention, right? Like, those are things that I need to be better at, that don't involve me having to do any of this crap to get anywhere. Because I don't know. Obviously, if I walk away from it, like, my goal that I've achieved is going to go away, because I still owe money on my house and all those things. All right. So I don't know. This is a spitball episode. Because one, I haven't done them in a minute. It's been some time. And looking at the news, I don't want to fucking talk about the news. I'm sorry. I want to talk about it. Yes, we all know things are expensive. Politicians suck. Horrible shit's happening in the rest of the world too. We all know that. And I'm over it, man. Like, I'm over trying to pretend like I give two shits about it. Because the truth is, I'm like everybody else, and I only care about the things that I can affect. right? Or that affect me personally. So that's why gas prices affect us, right? Because it affects us personally. But outside of that, we don't give a shit how it gets here. We just want it here and we want it cheaper. We don't care. We don't care about the process, right? That's how I feel about a lot of other things. Listen, it's not affecting me. And that doesn't mean that I want innocent people to die. It doesn't mean that I want kids to go hungry or any of that. I just find, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? You want me to drop everything that I'm doing? And maybe that's my purpose in life, right? Like I drop everything I'm doing and I just go over there and I start serving spoons of soup to all these people so that I could be targeted in an airstrike by the U.S. government or the Israeli government. Sorry. Right? No. It's not affecting me. And it's not that I want any of those bad things to happen. Because I don't. I definitely don't want any of those bad things to happen to those people. I really don't. It's just not affecting me. So my energy towards it is, I don't care. Right? And you can look at that and you can say, oh, that makes you a terrible person. Does it? Because look in the mirror. It's one thing to be compassionate about it when people talk about it, right? But what are you doing in the meantime? Nothing different than I'm doing. Maybe you're a little bit more vocal about it, so maybe you're starting more conversations about it. Okay, cool. But what are you really fucking doing? Nothing, right? And so, yeah, maybe that makes me a bad person. But if that's the case, I think we're all pretty much bad people. And I don't think we're all bad people. I think it's just hard to focus on it. Like, what do you want us to do? Right? So we put on the news and we show all this stuff. Look how terrible this is. Look how bad it is. Look how out of control it's getting. And what is it you want me to do? There's nothing I can do. And let's not even talk about the reasons why it's even happening in the first place. Sorry, rolled the windows up. Cooled off a little bit, so I'll try to get rid of the background noise. But let's not even talk about the reason why it's happening in the first place, right? Like, I think majority of us can look at a lot of the modern, I guess you could say, quote, wars going on in the world, and we can see the political agendas behind them, And I think most of the world's aware of that. And clearly, we don't give a shit, right? Because it's still happening. Like, if all of us just stood up to the government, it should be over, right? And like, it's that classic meme: if those holding the table stand up, the game's over. Blah blah blah, right? It's true. It's absolutely true. And why don't we? Well, because we're comfortable, man. You know what I mean? We're comfortable, and then there's all those people out there, and they're like, yeah, that comfort's, that's what's going to get you killed. You're going to ride away all your rights and this and that. Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. And then there's a psychologist out there that would tell you that probably most people want to be controlled. Most people don't like making decisions for themselves. They just want somebody to tell them what they're supposed to do. And if you think I'm crazy, just look around you. Be observant for a minute. Most people don't want to have to figure out what they're supposed to do. They just want to be told what to do. Because it's easier. There's less effort involved. Or there's less fear involved in a lot of ways, right? Like, there's no fear of making the wrong choice when it's somebody else's decision, right? I don't know. It's interesting. The freedoms one always gets me. That phrase always gets me, because it's like, listen, man, if it was up to me, I'd have never voted for speed limits. That shit was here when I got here, big guy. So, I'm talking to the wrong person, right? I would have never voted for surveillance systems. I was in junior high when 9/11 happened. Junior high. I wasn't voting for shit that you guys let through. There ain't none of this on me. All this stuff going through, none. Nobody's asking me how I feel about TikTok. Nobody's asking me how I feel about these listening devices in our phone that tell you the ads of the things that you were talking about. Right? Like, none of that was up to me. I didn't have nothing to do with that. Neither did they, even, really. Because nobody asks, they just do. Right? And then they hope that we don't see all the nefarious shit or make a rise about it. That's really what it boils down to. They hope that we're not going to care about it. Right? And for the most part, I would say, like, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not plotting the revolution in my Chevy Silverado. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just talking about stuff, and maybe that can be used against me someday. Sure. Maybe it is. Maybe it can. You're absolutely right. Or maybe they could just the government could just decide that we're going to start going through and killing people. Yeah, that could happen too. And you know what else is going to happen with that, though, right? Is that those people that don't want to make decisions, they're going to fall in line with it, and they're going to do it. There's going to be people who resist it. There's going to be people who can't swallow that idea, right? And they're going to fight against it. But then there's going to be probably even more people that just go with it because it's easier than standing out. Just go with the flow, right? And I think most of us are like that, whether we want to admit that to ourselves or not, right? I think most of us are like that. Probably even myself to a certain extent. I think it would depend on what it is, right? Like, I'm definitely not going to line up to go shoot people just because the government's sick of it, right? Like, I'm not going to do that. I know that for a fact. But I mean, I still have social medias. I still get on these phones, right? It's always in my pocket. I feel naked if I leave the house without it, type thing, right? Not so much anymore because I think I've done a pretty good job of just being able to leave it at home. But you know what I'm saying? Like, especially if Monday through Friday when I'm going to work, oh shit, where's my phone, right? And a lot of that's because of my job and stuff like that. But like, I'm just as guilty of it as the next, and I'm just going right in line with it. And I make these podcasts and I talk about how, I hate the government and this and and this and that, but I'm literally a puppet in the system just as much as anybody else. I'm just not afraid to admit that. A lot of people are. A lot of people won't admit that, even though they think they're so big and badass because they got their lions not sheep stickers and they're listening to the underground outlaw radio or whatever it is, or they refuse to buy into this or that. They're followers just as much as anybody else, just in a different way. I make that sound like it's a terrible thing, right? And I don't think that it really has to be. I think there's terrible parts about it, sure. But I don't think that makes you like a terrible person, because you live in, I've said it, right? I didn't build this world. I grew up in it. I was born into it. Right? Is it really that bad if I just follow the system that was here? Especially if my life's pretty good. Right? So I'm not going to say it's a bad thing. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm calling everybody a bad person. I'm not. I'm just saying I think that we all follow more than we ever want to admit. Right? I know it's ideal to sit there and think of yourself as the alpha fucking male, right? And I call the shots around this. You know what I mean? I don't know why I censored myself from saying bitch, but I did. I was doing really good not cussing in most of this episode. But then I got comfortable again, and here it is. Bam! Douchebaggery on full effect, right? But no, I do. I think, it's great to romanticize ourselves as these great, independent, revolutionary style, egocentric type people, right? But the truth is we all follow to a certain extent. Some of us more than others. Some of us more in one direction than the other sometimes, sure. But we all follow. We all play the system. We all bitch about taxes, but we still pay them. We all complain about speed traps, but we still follow the speed limit. Right? Like, all these things are, we fall in line with. I don't think people want to really admit that. I got off on such a sidetrack. It's not even funny. But this is the stuff that I like to do, man. Just talk, man. Just get it out there and think through things. Because again, I'll never sit here and tell you that I'm right about anything. I think that I'm right. Sometimes. I'll usually use facts to say that I'm right. Facts that I didn't come up with. Somebody else came up with them. But I've told their facts and they're truthful. So, but I found them on the internet, so they can't be wrong. You know what I mean? But like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I got all the answers, man. I don't. There's a reason it's called Average Discussion. The show is literally called Average Discussion. Like, I am not claiming to be literally anything other than what I am. I talk about things. I've been right about things. I've been wrong about things. I've probably not corrected myself as many times as I should have. But that's because I don't see the point in going back. I just changed my opinion for the next one. And people are like, oh, that's hypocritical. I don't care. I don't care because it's not hypocritical. It's learning, right? And, you know, in the face of new evidence or new information, you know, you'd be a fool not to change your opinion. That's how I feel about it. But that's me in a nutshell. I just really wanted to get an episode out there because, again, you know, consistency takes a minute and I need to be better about it. So here I am. I need to stop trying to force this out. That's how I feel. And it's probably going to backfire. But hey, screw it, man. Like, if you've been with me this long, hopefully you stick around. Bring your friends. Let's ride this crazy train. I've got enough content out there that they should at least be occupied during my next, you know, absence till I get back to some more. So, you know, tell them go back, listen to some other stuff, whatever. I don't know. I don't want a show that's just like the same shit every day. I don't think. No, I don't think I want that. You know, I think I need a format that's the same. That I will, because, like, you know, you look at the big guys like, you know, Joe Rogan or whatever, right? And his show is generally the same every single time. He just changes up the subject, right? And it's different people, you know, and different concepts, different things that they talk about. But the format's still the same. The format's exactly the same. You know what I mean? And that's probably where I'm messing up. You know, my format's not right. My formula. But it's what it is. Anyways, guys, I got to get back to work. Decided to just take a little break and record this. 4 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 6 p.m. if you're in New York, I guess. Was that 3 p.m. in California? So be sure to check it out. Where can you find me? Well, I'm not even really sure anymore. I'm just kidding. You can find me on Facebook, facebook.com/average discussion. Instagram, average discussion. X at AVG discussion. Threads, average discussion. TikTok, not so much, not gonna lie, not so much on TikTok. But if you really want to reach out to me, I probably won't see it for a long time. It's average discussion. I don't know if you're seeing a theme here. If you need to email me, want to contact me directly, email me at average discussion, all one word, average discussion @gmail.com. Go straight to my phone. It is what it is. You like the show, don't like the show, bitches, gripes, complaints, death threats, whatever. Yeah, email them to me. Let me know what you think. Whatever platform you listen to this on, please give me a like and some feedback. You know, I'm not saying I do everything right. I'm sure there's a lot of shit I'm doing wrong. So, you know, feedback's always welcomed. But just know you're a douchebag to me. I'll probably be a douchebag back to you. Because why not? But I can take constructive criticism. So don't be afraid to tell me things I'm doing wrong, especially if it's information. You know, if I ever say anything that maybe I don't source correctly, or if I put out there and you're like, no, dude, that's not really what it is, please correct me. Like, I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong about things. I probably used to be at some point, but I've done a lot of therapy. All right, a lot of therapy. So yeah, you can find the show on Amazon, Spotify, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, all under the name Average Discussion. Not so much on Podbean, and I need to try. I gotta look and see if there's an easier way to do it, but from the looks of it, I gotta upload every episode in there manually, and I'm not looking forward to that. But I haven't been on there in a while, so we'll see what changes have happened at Podbean, and maybe we can revamp this live thing. You know, last time I was doing it, it was a little problematic. Most of it was equipment issues on my end, so I kind of just postponed it and never really got back looking into it. So whatever. You can find me on YouTube, youtube.com. The channel is Average Discussion. I'm still waiting on my followers there so I can go live there and just start doing some videos. So if you haven't done so already, please head over to youtube.com. There's no real videos up just yet. It's usually just a backdrop with the audio over it that Spreaker does for me. You know, I'm just hoping to get enough people so I can start doing some live stuff over there. I think that'd be pretty cool. And I think that might actually help me stay motivated. So anyways, hey, as always, guys, I hope you're having a great day, for one. There's so much more to life. Get out there, enjoy your life. Whatever it is that you value, go for it, man. Like, screw this shit. This shit's stupid. Everyday life. I'm literally looking at just buildings that are just vacant. Like, just a waste. Such a waste. Somebody's making money, though. So, whatever. But hey, as always, guys, please take care of yourselves. Please take care of each other. And until next time, which could be a very long time, or it could be tomorrow, or it could even be tonight. I don't really know. I'm out.